of Commerce Board of Directors. I'm filling in today for Harold Roundtree, our chair, and Don Argula couldn't be with us tonight. So I am filling in, taking the duties. So just want to welcome everyone here to the Robert Livermore Community Center for the Livermore Candidates Forum. So, of course, Don prepared a bunch of notes for me, so I might repeat myself. Welcome to the 2022 Livermore Candidates Forum, coming to you tonight in person at the LARPD Robert Livermore Community Center and stream live on the Chamber's YouTube channel. We are pleased to once again co-host this event with our media partner, Gina, Channell, president and publisher of Pleasanton Weekly, DanvilleSanRamon.com, and the latest addition to their publication, the Livermore Vine. Yay. Joining Gina tonight is Cierra Bailey, editor of Livermore Vine. And Gina and Cierra will be moderating the candidates forum this evening. We look forward to welcome, we already have them here on stage, candidates for Mayor John Marchand and Moni Knopp. And then later we look forward to welcoming to the stage candidates for City Council District 1 will be Evan Branning and Carol Ware. And then for District 2, he can't be here tonight, Ben Barrientos. And I believe it's Mel Chong. I didn't catch that yet. As a city of nearly 8,600 residents and 5,000 businesses, the governance of the city is of paramount importance to the quality of life of its residents. The vibrant community, the vibrant business environment of its employers, and the continued economic prosperity of this community. City governance carries with it many heavy responsibilities: fiscal health, public safety, delivering essential services, providing sufficient and well-maintained infrastructure, and careful planning for current and future growth. These are just some of the many obligations of city government. We look forward to hearing from our candidates and how they see themselves meeting these responsibilities should they be elected office in November. And now, to get the forum program underway, I'm going to pass it off to Gina Channell.
Thank you, Jody. We really appreciate the opportunity to do this. Part of a community news organization's duty is to engage the public and have the candidates speak to the voters so they get to know them. So we are welcome to our candidates and my co-moderator, Cierra. We have our timekeepers, Christy and Martha, and our staff reporter will be here any minute, Nicole Gonzalez. And thank you to our co-sponsor, the Livermore Valley Chamber of Commerce, and its wonderful staff, and Jody Amos Productions. To start out, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Then each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to questions. For the candidates, we just told these two, we increased the time allotment for the answers based on our experience on Monday at the Pleasanton Forum. They didn't have enough time, so midstream we switched from 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So we'll eliminate that switch for you guys. Our timekeeper will signal when you have 30 seconds and when to stop. There are opportunities with each question for these candidates for a 1-minute rebuttal. It can be requested after the second candidate has answered the question. The other candidate then has the option to rebut the rebuttal with the same 1-minute time limit. We have prepared questions. We have questions that were emailed to us. We are also collecting questions on those little cards, and Sherry back there will be collecting them. So if you have a question on a card, just wave that card and she will come collect it. Okay, and then at the end, we have 3-minute closings. So out of respect for the candidates and others, we're going to be as quiet as possible, and please silence your cell phones for the live stream and for the recording. Based on a coin toss, candidate Marchand will give his opening statement first, and then we will alternate who speaks during the questioning portion of the program. So, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Gina, Pleasanton Weekly, Livermore Vine, and the Chamber for hosting this forum. This election is about giving Livermore voters the choice for proven, effective leadership, the choice for someone who listens to the community, creates plans, and gets things done to keep Livermore a remarkable place to live and raise a family, to work and play. A lot was accomplished when I was mayor. There is still a lot that needs to be finished. I am proud that the first phase of the long-anticipated Stockman's Park was built under my leadership. The Emergency Operations Center and a new fire station number 9 were built. These are facilities which will serve this community for generations. 57 new pieces of public art were acquired at no public expense. The city added 3 parks downtown, including Livermorian Plaza and the approval of Veterans Park, which will be 30% larger than originally proposed. Moving forward, we need to complete the sewer expansion down Tesla. Whether or not Livermore remains a wine region depends on extending services to the South Livermore viticultural region. I was a founding member of the authority that created Valley Link, a transit system which will remove 30,000 cars per day from Highway 580 and reduce greenhouse gases by 100 million tons per year. We need to keep it on track. Public safety will continue to be a top priority. Homelessness has been reduced by the strategies that I put in place. We will continue to build upon those successes. After years of planning and input from thousands of residents, the downtown plan was approved. It now needs to be completed with the amenities that our residents want, including more parking and an expanded Blacksmith Square. Livermore approved the downtown hotel years ago. We need to get it built. This is where I chose to raise my family. I love this community. In the poll that was taken before I left office, 92% of residents surveyed agreed that Livermore is a great place to live. Let's work together to keep it that way. Vote Marchand for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knopp?
Thank you for, can you hear me?
Can you turn his mic?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. Thank you for all of you for being here as well. Based on where I began in life, I'm not supposed to be here in front of all of you today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to share why I am running to be your next mayor of Livermore. You see, my childhood was spent escaping death and starvation during the modern-day genocide in Cambodia, where 2 million people were slaughtered. Instead of attending school as other children, I grew up in an agricultural labor camp, not knowing where my family or I would live to see another day. By the grace of God, my family arrived in the United States as a refugee for a second chance at life. At the age of 10, I started school for the very first time. Had to learn English quick, for I have to keep up with my classmates. To help my family make ends meet, I work in the farmlands of Stockton, picking fruits and vegetables because of that, that's how I could contribute to my family. On December 4th, 1995, my life was forever changed by an opportunity to serve as a Livermore police officer, proudly wearing badge number 45. It was no easy feat as I pursued this opportunity for 4 years, despite having never known anyone or had any prior experience in law enforcement. Yet, I served with great honor and distinction for 17 years. To this day, many people and former DARE students will come up to me and say how much I've had impacted their lives. Through my own adversity and struggle, I learned the principle of service to others. And through the generosity of so many of you in Livermore, I learned how to give back. Some of my experiences include volunteering in the community, a soccer coach, a basketball coach at Mendenhall, chair of the mini grants for my Rotary Club, a vice president and co-founder of the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance, a public policy committee chair for the Asian Real Estate Association of America, and a small business owner for the past 15 years. My top priorities are increase access to more affordable housing, increase public safety, address issues of the unhoused, and bring living wage job to Livermore. Please look me up at moniformayor.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our candidates, and Cierra is going to start us off with the questions.
Okay, so Mr. Knopp, this first question is going to be for you. Do you support the council-approved location at the southeast corner of Railroad Avenue and L Street for the Eden Housing Project? Why or why not?
I support the Eden Housing Project, but I do not support its current location. And why is that important? Because of the two candidates up here, I was one of about 30-plus volunteers that went out into the community and actually spoke to the residents. I've knocked on many, many doors, and I've talked to many. Of the people I've talked to, well over 100, 85% of them loves the idea of a more affordable housing, which I'm all for as well. Over 85% of them had asked that if there is a possibility to do so, to relocate the Eden Housing Project, please do so. So I do support affordable housing. In fact, that's the number one issue in this community. According to the 2015 housing report that the city put out, and as well as my conversation with many people in this community, is that affordable housing is the number one issue, and we would like to see it. Now, two things happen. We have the union, a lot of times, when they came up and spoke at the city council meeting, one of the things they ask is that, they asked for the project to be built. Yes, we're all for that. But right now, you have a huge waiting list as well. So why not make the project bigger than it already is? And the fact of the matter is, as was originally promised, teachers, firefighters, police officers, all the first responders are supposed to be able to qualify. But right now, that's not going to happen. In fact, how do I know that for a fact that's not going to happen? Is because I just recently met with the school district, and the school district's not getting involved in this project. Why? Because it was originally promised that teachers were supposed to be in there as well. The income will not qualify, and they would like to see more projects where they could be a part of it as well. And that's why I would support affordable housing and relocate it when there's a possibility to do so financially responsibly.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yes, I support Eden Housing at this location. This site was purchased with affordable housing funds from the redevelopment agency. It was originally approved in 2000. It was purchased in 2007. The city council undertook a public information and public input campaign. I see Councilmember Carling is here, and he was one of the chairs of that effort. There were 19 members on that committee. We took input from thousands of Livermore residents, and this was the site where most of the residents agreed. It was 36 of 37 work groups agreed that the housing should be on this particular site. This was has been long in the works. As I said, this was purchased with affordable housing funds. It's incorrect to say that teachers do not qualify. If you look at the city website, there's a table. It shows that a teacher making $54,000 a year will qualify. In fact, salaries up to $84,000 a year will qualify. That's a 10-year teacher. So when you hear that they don't qualify, that is not correct. What's also, I think, very important is that there was a referendum that was carried, but in fact, the group that carried the referendum, of which my opponent was part of, that they were already notified by the city clerk and by the city attorney that this was not a referendable action. They continued to collect signatures even though they'd been informed that it was not referendable. So this was approved. It was approved with a lot of public input. The opposition has a drawing that has had no public input, no analysis. We put together a plan with the city. They have a drawing, and a drawing is not a plan. Thank you.
I'd like to rebuttal that, please.
1 minute.
Okay. There's a couple things that the mayor mentioned about qualifying. He's talking about $54,000. That is not true. That's assuming it's one person household. That's assuming one person, so that's not, so it can't be. So if they're married, obviously they're not going to qualify if they have a second income. Two is that he was talking about we voted on it, but we have been asking for a change for 3 years now. I met with the city attorney as well, and the council had voted 5-0 to move this project forward. So the public options have never been presented to you. So if I were to be elected, you will see the public option. I will ask the staff if there's a possibility to do so, to present you with the options and to take a look at all the pain points for each one. So this way you can make a decision. If push come to shove, we put it to vote. Push come to shove, we put it to vote and let you make a decision whether this project could move forward or not. 8,053 signatures just got gathered.
Thank you. Would you like to? Okay.
Absolutely.
1 minute, please.
They were gathered for an invalid referendum. They were notified that it was invalid. The numbers of signatures that they collected were invalid. The city attorney had notified them ahead of time that this was not a valid referendum, that teachers do qualify for this. Apparently, Mr. Knopp doesn't know if a teacher might have a child, a single parent, that would qualify as well. So they do qualify. And this is an attack on our community. The fact that this is workforce housing for people to live and work here. I think that's, we need people to be able to live and share in this community. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to our second question, which we're going to drill down a little bit on your answers to the first one. So we'll start with candidate Marchand. You said that you support the current location for the Eden Housing Project. Beyond finishing the core downtown site, what is the next top priority for improving the downtown and why? What initial steps would you need or would need to be taken?
Okay. Next thing is going to be, in order to preserve the wine country, we need a downtown hotel. We also need additional parking for the downtown. The bids are going out right now for the L Street Garage. And so they're going to start construction probably later, or actually at the beginning of next year. The two top priorities that we had in the community were more parking and to ensure the fact that we have a wine country hotel that will ensure the long-term viability of our wine region, because we're not a wine destination. Lodi is, but we're not, because we don't have the hotel. So those are going to be my two main issues: more parking and get the downtown hotel built. We also have, there were cultural amenities that people wanted. They wanted the Spark, the Black Box Theater for innovative theater. They wanted the Quest Science Center so the children can come down to the town and learn about the sciences, an experiential type of opportunities. So the cultural amenities, the park downtown, Veterans Park, we've got $1 million from Congressman Swalwell for Veterans Park. Those are the things that are coming into the downtown that we need, the amenities that this community said that they wanted, and that's what we're going to deliver. The more parking, the hotel, the cultural amenities, Black Box Theater, and Quest Science Center.
Thank you. Candidate Knopp, you said you support affordable housing, but not the current location of the Eden Housing Project. Now that the land has been sold to Eden Housing Incorporated, how would you go about getting the land back? Would you be willing to use eminent domain to take it back? And if you were to get the land back, please tell us specifically where you would recommend moving the project to.
Well, first of all, there is a litigation in place. I don't think the land has been sold to Eden Housing. So the first thing that we need to do is, in this case, you ask the staff and you ask the city attorney to provide us the options, to take a look at it, to take a look at the options of what are those options, what are those public options. The public options have never been presented or been looked at and share that with the public. So when we do that, when we look at those, we'll figure out what the pain points are for each one, and we as a community make a decision together. The part of it is that most people don't know is that they think that the legacy project is where the Eden Housing is right now. When I spoke to a lot of people, they thought that's the legacy project is the Eden Housing. Ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be 5 total buildings behind the Ale House. You got the Black Box Theater, the Science Center, the parking structure, and 2 more 4-story building with 130 units. Each of those 130 units is designated one parking space. I know by law, you're not required to have any, but we know that most people always had 2 cars. I used to live at Station Square myself, and I used to be a patrol officer for this area for 17 years. I know what traffic congestion looked like. And you will be calling the city about how congested it's going to be in downtown Livermore when these 5 buildings are going to be built. The other thing that you have to think about when you build these things, it's great in theory, but you have to put it into practice. The practice is that when people live in the complex, for example, when they come home, they have an appointment, for example, and then an hour, 2 hours later, they're not going to go underneath the parking structure to go to park. If there is an open space out and about, they will take that. And all of you will be calling city council and saying, hey, why don't we have enough parking? This is going to be an issue.
Thank you.
Can I
1
make that
minute.
comment? Okay, my opponent has said that we didn't look at the options. There were no options. We looked at the plan, we worked with the community, we heard from thousands of people, we developed a plan, we had public hearings over and over with this, but what was presented by the opposition was a drawing with no input. It was a drawing made by 2 people. No public input, no financial or feasibility analysis. Move it somewhere else. There's no land is for sale in this area. And escrow has closed. This is done. The escrow has closed on this. So to go to the city attorney and say we need to do something else, the only option means eminent domain, to take the property. Escrow has closed. This is done. Thank you.
My rebuttal to that is that this is coming from our mayor, former mayor here. That's what he's saying. Again, those options have never been presented to the public. So we need to see what those options are. We haven't seen them. So my question is, when was it presented and when was it voted on? Did the city attorney and the staff provide these options A, B, and C to the public? You tell me. We just haven't seen it. So we would like to see those options being presented to the public.
Okay, thank you. We'll have plenty of time for closing statements. We need to move on, or we're only going to get through 2 questions. Cierra, you want to take over?
Yeah, so moving on to the next question, but somewhat staying on the housing topic. It will go to you first, candidate Knopp. Housing is among the top concerns for voters headed into this city council election, especially in light of the new increased RHNA numbers. Do you agree with the approach that the city is taking to meet these state-mandated numbers? And specifically, which points of the plan do you agree with, and which points do you disagree with, and why?
Am I first?
Candidate Knopp, yeah, we're starting
sorry
with you.
about that. Okay. I do agree that the city is working on getting more affordable housing for our residents here. In fact, if you think one of the biggest projects that's going to be happening, it's going to be the Isabel neighborhood specific plan that's going to be happening right by at Airway and Isabel. That project in itself requires about 3,900 units, or about 3,900, 4,000. Of that, there's going to be at least 900 plus or 1,000 units that's going to be dedicated to affordable housing. So in that case, I am very much in support of that project. You know, this is, for me, growing up really, really poor, and we've always had to live in an apartment with 1 or 2 other families living with us. Affordable housing is a need. It's a must. And we have to take a look at it. How do we provide that access to different income, people with different income level? I think it's really, really important that we do so, but these are some of the, this is one of the biggest projects that's happening in our city, and I will be supporting that as well.
Thank you. Candidate Marchand?
Okay, thank you. We've got a second set of RHNA numbers that are coming up. Right now, I'm on the General Plan Advisory Committee, and we are looking at places throughout the city to possibly rezone to meet the next round of RHNA numbers that are coming in. It is correct that we have the 4,000 units up at the Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan. We are also looking at a transit-oriented development down at South Front. and several other key places in the city, because we are going to have to meet another second round of RHNA numbers. So this is something we're going to continue to look at. We're taking, there's 19 members on this committee as well. We just had a meeting last night looking at the resources and how those are going to be impacted as the city is required to grow. So where these additional residences are going to go, what resources will be available, and what modifications we need to make to the general plan and to the development code to ensure that everybody has available housing and also maintains the remarkable quality of life that we have here in Livermore.
Okay, thank you. No rebuttals. Okay, we can move on to question 4. Candidate Marchand, this will be for you first. There is an estimated $20 to $30 million annual shortfall in funding needed for infrastructure replacement repair and replacement. What is your approach for closing the gap, and what areas would you focus on most? Do you support an increase in sales tax or property tax to pay for infrastructure?
Well, so the city of Livermore has $2.5 billion in assets. And you are correct that if we were to assume a lifespan of 30 years for those assets, we'd have to be putting away $83 million a year. If we assumed 40-year lifespan, that would be about $63 million a year. Most cars don't last 40 years. So we have to, in 2016, under my leadership, we implemented what was the first of its kind, an asset management plan. There are 600 miles of sidewalks. There are 300 miles of roads that have to be maintained, and we need to be putting those dollars away. Where do those come from? We have an asset management plan. We started out only putting away about $6 million a year. We've now been increasing that. This year in this general plan, in the general fund, we're putting away about $12 million, and that's going to be increasing over the years as the El Charro specific plan. We have a sales tax reimbursement program there. That was going to sunset, so we'll be getting those dollars directly into the general fund. The revenues are increasing in the city, so we're increasing the amount that's going into our reserve fund. This is going to be difficult. We've undertaken a risk management and a risk assessment plan to calculate the ideal lifespan and life cycle of these assets so that they're replaced before they fail. It's going to be an ongoing conversation with the community on where the funding comes from, but that's going to be a conversation that we have that's got to be done throughout the city, without the community.
Thank you. Candidate Knopp.
Yeah, we are a huge, big city. We're about 93,000 right now, and I do support the CAMPS program, which is the asset management program. I think that we're doing the city historically. When I was a Livermore police officer, the finance department have always done well, have always been progressing forward. I've always looked forward. I've always planned for the rainy days, and I think they're doing a really, really good job with that. And by the way, we are projected to be in a surplus the next couple of years. Of course, I don't know what the future holds, but we're projected to have that as well. But as in any cities, when you're operating, you're always going to have competing factors of other things that comes up, major things, major requirements or major obligation that comes up. But one of the things I would do is I would set up a business committee to report to the city council. What I like to do is to ask members of the community, as mayor, I would like to set up this committee, would ask the business community to come together and to take a look at not only how we streamline the process, not only take a look at how we help the buckets of businesses from small, mid-sized to large businesses and streamline the process, but take a look at how do we generate more revenues as well. I'll give you an example right in our city right now that we could do. If you look at downtown, I think we should designate it from 1st Street all the way to P Street, from Inman all the way to P Street, 4th Street all the way to Railroad Avenue. We should think about as a business district. With that alone, one of the things that a lot of other cities do, including San Francisco, they put the banners up where it's for advertisement. That's just one way to look at how do we generate more businesses as well, more revenues for the city. But the best part is that if you ask people to participate, they too will find reasons to work together to find ways to also generate revenues for the shortfalls that we have. We have to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question will go to candidate not first. The Tri-Valley, including Livermore, is not immune to homelessness. Do you agree with the framework and goals that the Alameda County and the Board of Supervisors have aligned on for addressing homelessness? If so, what aspects are most appealing to you and why? And if not, what would you change and how would you go about doing so?
There are many, well, first of all, you have to understand how big the homeless issue is. Homeless is a huge, huge issue. For example, when we think about it, most people may not realize what I'm thinking about is, what I'm trying to refer to is that the different buckets of different type of people that fall into homelessness. Some just fall out of their luck, but a lot of them end up having mental issues, and a lot of them also have substance abuse. So the question is, how do we help each one? One of the projects that's, one of the things that I would do is obviously take a look at what's happening in Asbury Church and all the other churches that's working right now in cohesiveness to help our unhoused population. So I would continue to support that. But one of the things I'd like to take a look at is, how do we look at it on long-term wise? We haven't really done it. All of you know that, I don't know if you know, but 80% of the services are in Livermore. If you talk to any of the police officers, they would tell you that other cities are dropping their people off here in Livermore. To me, I think that it's fine that we have a great heart, we have a great people here, a lot of people want to give back, but it should be not just Livermore's problem, it should be a shared burden. So one of the things I would like to see happen would be we take it on a regional level. Maybe we could begin to have a conversation with the regional mayors, all 5 cities, including the county rep, county supervisors, and the state rep, to take a look at how do we make this become a shared responsibility versus just a Livermore's burden. That is what's happening right now in our community. For example, the Open Heart Kitchen, the Vineyard 2.0 on North Livermore and Walnut right now is being built. That will have a housing component as well as a commercial kitchen as well as wraparound service as well. I support those things. I support those type of programs. I would like to see it. I would like to see it happen, but it should be a shared responsibility. I think that it should, we should all be part of it.
Thank you. Candidate Marchand?
Thank you. Yes, this is a regional problem. There's no question there. That's why in 2014, I convened the first Mayor's Summit on Regional Homelessness. This actually caught the notice of the White House, and I was invited to the White House by First Lady Michelle Obama to launch the Mayor's Challenge to End Veterans Homelessness. We partnered with the Las Positas College to create a clearinghouse of information for veterans. During the point-in-time count, we learned that 90% of the veterans that were homeless were not receiving the benefits to which they were entitled. This was low-hanging fruit, so we were able to connect them through Las Positas College to the benefits to which they were entitled. In my work with the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the Kauffman Foundation, we brought experts from across the country and came to the understanding that there is no silver bullet to combat homelessness. So we developed a series of strategies that I like to call silver buckshot. Lots of little things that work. So for example, navigation centers, Vineyard 2.0, which broke ground earlier this year, the interfaith housing, which also helps to provide housing for low income, and the 130 units that are going to be going in on Pacific Avenue, specifically for seniors and for homeless veterans. The point-in-time count in Livermore is actually down. It has increased throughout the county. It's almost doubled. But in our point-in-time count has dropped, and this was confirmed by Supervisor Halbert in his State of the County. It's dropped because our strategies are working here. They're working here in Livermore because we've taken the lead, and we are helping those that are unhoused. We also have to work with our partners, Mid-Penn, Eden Housing, Goodness Village, the tiny homes, a great success. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward. I guess this goes to candidate Marchand. What are your thoughts on the current efforts to revitalize wine region, such as the South Livermore Sewer Line Extension Project, which is Measure P, and the proposed amendments to the county's Measure D that would expand wine country uses to include hot air balloon operations, and cannabis dispensaries, among other conditional uses? What other strategies would you consider to strengthen Livermore's wine industry?
Well, we are the oldest commercial wine region in California, and whether or not we remain a wine region depends upon whether or not we can provide the infrastructure that is needed to ensure that this is a viable wine region. And I happen to sit on the LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission, and we worked on and studied the Measure D and also the sewer line down Tesla, and we made a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors as they finalized the amendments to Measure D and also for the new proposition of Measure P. It's critically important because we can't build septic tanks in that area, so we need to provide a sewer line if we are going to bring in the medium-sized wineries that are critically important to ensuring our long-term viability. It's about 2,600 acres are going to have to be replaced by the end of this decade. If there is not a financial viability, those vineyards are not going to be replaced, and this will cease to be a wine region. We will not have the critical mass necessary to ensure its long-term survival. So yes, I support the changes to Measure D. I support Measure P, and we need to get these both passed. The cost is going to be, most of it's going to be borne by Alameda County. I worked with Supervisor Haggerty's office to ensure that funding was in place, and Supervisor Halbert has agreed to use those funds. The rest will be connection fees for the wineries and the facilities that tap into this line. So there will be no cost to Livermore ratepayers or to Livermore residents. It will all be borne by the county and those who benefit. Those who benefit are going to pay. So thank you.
Candidate Knopp.
Thank you. So this is probably the only time I'm going to agree with him. No, but I do agree with him. No, there's a lot of things that we could do for the wine region. I think we have so much potential. But I do, first of all, I want to acknowledge that I do support Measure G and Measure D as well. But part of it is that I think one of the greatest things that's happening in our town is the hotel, the boutique hotel is going to be built next to the Bankhead Theater. I don't know if you know, but when the reason why we can't even compete against the Napa of the world is because we don't have a boutique hotel. The boutique hotel, the reason why it's so significant is because right now our city is just a day town, it's a day trip town, a day trip city. On average, when people come for the daytime, they only spend $97 per day. But when they stay overnight, they spend $245 a night. And they stay a lot longer. In fact, we just had the Tri-Valley Visitors Luncheon. They talked about this. They usually stay 3 to 5 days extra when there's hotels that is accommodating, their trip. But a couple things that we could do, I think would be awesome. Number one, I think that from the city side, I would like to take a look at the PR marketing department, how we can do that, and other ways how we can support the winery right now. I don't think our PR marketing is doing a good enough job right now. The staff are amazing, but I just think there's always room for improvement. Because I come from the real estate background, it's always about marketing. That we have to do. We have to do a lot more. But the second thing that I would suggest that we haven't done in this community is a missed out opportunity. I'm going to ask one of the winery owner on Tesla and Greenville, maybe to cut out an area, put a sign up that says, just like Napa, welcome to Livermore Wine Country, and hashtag it, sponsored by the city of Livermore, so we could take a lot more photos, and these photos will be shared to the audience worldwide. We haven't done that. Those are some very minute little ideas that we can do to expand our wine region.
Thank you.
I'd like to just comment on that. So it's an interesting conundrum because it's about spending dollars, public dollars that we get from the citizens of Livermore, and then spending those to market companies that are outside of the city limits. So that's somewhat problematic because it's the gift of public dollars. It's also interesting because we just heard how important the hotel is. However, the drawing that was promoted for moving Eden Housing, that drawing actually eliminated the hotel because it eliminated the parking for the hotel and by extension will eliminate the hotel. So it's interesting to hear this pitch because we all understand how important that is, but this drawing that was so heavily promoted would have eliminated that hotel. But it comes down to we have a very close partnership with Visit Tri-Valley to ensure that they spend their regional dollars to promote this entire region. We partner very well together, and I think that we've got a good partnership.
Go ahead,
So
1 minute.
with my business background, this is where I differ from our former mayor. It takes money to make money. You have to put out the product. People have to know. You can't assume that they know about who we are as a community. You can't assume that they know about us, who we are as Livermore. They can't assume that we have 50-plus wineries. You can't assume that we have one of the fastest computers in the world right here. They can't assume that we have a NIF project here. In fact, my recent conversation with the city manager, all I asked was that to take a look at the website. Can we add, did you know? What if we were to have 5 things and then the 10 things that pops up say, hey, did you know that this is the facts about Livermore? Can we just have that pop up on the website? It would be amazing because what happened is when those things pop up, I could correlate to as a user of the website that would identify with me, that allowed me to connect with Livermore even more. And it takes money to do that. So you've got to market in order to do it.
Okay, thank you. I think, unfortunately, this is going to have to be our last question because we want to give you plenty of time for your closing statements. Feel like no?
Let's get into it. This will go to candidate not first. Water supply conditions remain below normal throughout California. Yet the state is mandating the building of more than 4,500 housing units in Livermore during this regional housing needs allocation cycle. Diversifying the water supply portfolio has been a goal of the city's water wholesalers, Zone 7, and cities for several years. How will you support efforts to ensure water supply efficiency and sustainability in Livermore for the long term? How willing are you to raise taxes and/or advocate for a bond to pay for any necessary infrastructure upgrades?
First of all, let me answer the questions about the bond or taxes, whatnot. In order to issue a bond or taxes, in order to ask the residents of Livermore to give more, we have to take a look at where we are at financially, and we have to take a look at how much the need's going to be. So take a look at that first, and then maybe do the asking. Part of it, one of the things I would do is actually work with Cal Water and Zone 7, and and then take a look at what kind of, again, it goes back to PR and marketing. We have done a really decent job recently. I think we have about 15.8% of the people here have conserved water. I think that we can do even better. Take a look at, putting marketing videos or putting more educational events out there to educate people about this conserving our water. And take a look at the drought resistance plants that what people have at their home. How can we make that even better? But for me, I love going out there and speak to the public. Whatever the issues are, especially if I work with Zone 7, whether it's Zone 7 or Cal Water or representing the city of Livermore, love to get out and about and educate the public about conserving water as well. So I think that that's some of the things that I would love to be a part of, and I just think that we could do a lot better. But the first thing is assessing what we have, and then asking if need be, and then getting out there to educate the public. It's all comes down to education. It's all comes down to being knowledgeable about where we are and what we can do, and some of the little things that we can do to make it happen. Just because sometimes it's so small just because one hose is dripping away that doesn't, if there's a way to prevent that from happening, I think that could save quite a bit of water.
Thank you. Candidate Marchand?
Okay, thank you. Water, that's my life. I was on the Zone 7 Water Board for 15 years. I spent 30 years as a water quality chemist. When I was on the Zone 7 Water Board, we doubled our Table A entitlements, which is the water that we were able to purchase from the state. We were recognized as one of the top 10 water utilities in the entire nation because of our improvements to water quality and water reliability. Diversifying our water portfolio, increasing the water reuse is going to be absolutely key. Right now, we're selling our recycled water to City of Pleasanton, but there's certainly opportunities to reuse that here. In 2016, during the drought, City of Livermore led the entire state in water conservation. We cut back 40%, but the downtown fountain, Lizzie Fountain, stayed on because that's where the children played, and it stayed on because the mayor said so. But even though, because the children that played there didn't have backyards, they didn't have pools, but this was where they played. But because we were able to turn off some fountains and leave other ones on, we still kept the fountain on at Lizzie Fountain, but we reduced our use elsewhere in the city. We cut back 40%. We led the state because we were smart. We were educating our public. We were telling them what they needed to do, what sacrifices they could make. I cut the water use at my house by 1,800. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Yes, 1,800 gallons a week at my own house. So yes, there are ways we can do that. As through water reuse, we're talking. Zone 7 has been working on this. I was on the Regional Water Roundtable, and we were considering this, and we're still looking at opportunities to find new ways to reuse water and to, again, diversify that portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you.
My rebuttal was that it's not only it was his question because he's a water scientist. Come on. No, just kidding.
Okay, well, I guess it's unfortunate that we have to move forward because.
Can we just extend this for another hour?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how the city council candidates would feel about that. But we have so many good questions. We covered a lot of these. But what's that? Okay, well, I'll tell you what most of them are about. Traffic and road conditions. Would you support a cannabis dispensary?
Airport expansion.
Airport expansion. Those are the three that we didn't get
I'm surprised
to.
we didn't get that one.
Huh?
I'm surprised we didn't get there, but we'll do it another time.
Yes, we will. Well, you can always address it in your closing statement. So we are going to move on now. We get 3 minutes for closing statements, and we are going to start with candidate Knopp.
Once again, thank you for the opportunity to share my story and why I'm running to be your next mayor of Livermore. Before you make your decision, I would like you to consider 3 things. Number 1, which leader's vision would incorporate the community's feedback to address our affordable housing issues? We need more affordable housing so our teachers, firefighters, and police officers can live in Livermore, the community they serve. We need more affordable housing in a location that respects all voices and makes sense for our neighborhood and our city. Number 2, who is best to lead us now and then also into the future? Do you want the same people running our city, going back in time, or would you like to look forward with some new faces, a renewed energy being incorporated into our city, and some fresh ideas? What about some of the innovation to include new technology tools at City Hall, more EV stations, robotic parking, hosting a text conference in Livermore, vertical farms perhaps, and developing a digital feedback system at City Hall? What about hosting some city council meeting outdoors as well as simultaneously on Zoom? When are we going to include our amazing youth? We need to include them now. We want them to be the future of our community. Number 3, who's going to engage you, listen to you, and include you in the political process? I will lead the city in a responsive manner. I'm running to represent you and not the special interests that feel like they do not need to talk to us or listen to us. The people of Livermore will always have an open door to my office when I am elected. I will do everything I can do to find win-win solution, balancing between growth and small-town feel. I'm committed to more access to affordable housing, include our teachers and first responders, as originally promised, find short-term and long-term solution to help the unhoused, bring high-paying jobs to Livermore, and keeping our city safe and sound. During this election, we can choose to keep everything the same or simply accept we can't do any better, or we can have the courage to make a change. We can do more and be more for our community and each other. My opponent will tell you that we must keep experienced people in place to move the city forward. Well, I am experienced. I have lived and worked in the city for 27 years, served 17 years as a police officer, helped many nonprofit organizations, and have operated a successful real estate business here for 15 years. I believe the collective experiences and personal perspective that I bring to this position can rival anyone. Just look at my humble beginnings and the odds that were stacked against me, and yet I became successful and standing proudly in front of all of you today. As your mayor, I will serve you with transparency and include you in the process. With me, you will no longer have to be unseen, unheard, or disconnected from the city. I am here and I'm ready to fight for you. I hope you give me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you again. Are we on here? Okay. Thank you again for hosting this forum. This is important. As I said in my opening comments, this election is about giving Livermore voters the choice for proven effective leadership, the choice for someone who listens to the community, creates plans, and gets things done to keep Livermore a remarkable place to live, work, and play. Because of district elections, there will be 2 new city council members elected this year. I look forward to working with them and their new perspectives and ideas. I am proud to be endorsed by the Bay East Association of Realtors. They also recognize the importance of quality of life. I am proud to be endorsed by the Livermore Pleasanton Firefighters Local 1974. They also recognize the importance of proven effective leadership and good governance. I am honored to be endorsed by the Alameda Labor Council, the local International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the sprinkler fitters, and steel workers. They also understand the importance of bringing in high-quality, good-paying local jobs. The people who know what it takes to do the job know that I have what it takes. I am honored to be endorsed by the entire City Council, former Police Chiefs Michael Harris and Steve Sweeney, and former Fire Chiefs Ruben Torres, Stu Gary, and Bill Cody. Public safety will continue to be the top priority. Because of our close collaboration, I am endorsed by mayors all around Alameda County and the Tri-Valley. We are getting things done by working together. Working with regional mayors and voters, we were successful in bringing in $400 million in regional transit funding, and I was a founding member of the Valley Link Board, a regional transit system that will take 30,000 cars off the freeway every day and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 100 million tons per year. There is still a lot to be done. The new downtown hotel and the sewer line extension down Tesla must be completed if Livermore is going to remain a viable wine country. We need to keep Valley Link on track. The successful strategies that have reduced homelessness in Livermore that were implemented during my last term must be expanded with our regional partners such as Mid-Penn, Eden, Interfaith Housing, Goodness Village, and Alameda County. I was honored to serve our community as mayor for 9 years. During that time, a new fire station and an emergency operations center were built. They will protect our community for generations. 3 new parks were approved downtown. The first phase of Stockman's Park was completed under my leadership. More parking, our residents' top priority, was added to the downtown. A poll that was conducted at the end of my term in office concluded that 92% of residents surveyed agreed that Livermore was a great place to live and raise a family. I love our city. With your vote, we will continue to work together to keep Livermore a remarkable place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you to both candidates, and let's give them another round of applause. So we are going to take a quick break and start with the council candidates forum at 7:05-ish. And just in case people are leaving, we wanted to let you know that Cierra and I are moderating a forum for Livermore School District candidates on Monday, the 26th at 6 o'clock in the district's boardroom at 685 East Jack London Boulevard. So put that on your calendar if you could make it, and we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes.
gentlemen, we're going to get started here soon with the City Council debate. So go ahead and take your seats. We're going to get started here shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start here with the City Council debate. I'm going to pass it back to Gina and Cierra.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome or welcome back if you're joining us again for the second forum tonight. This one is for City Council candidates. We have 3 candidates in contested races for Districts 1 and 2 council seats, which are transitioning from at-large with this election. District 1 candidates are Evan Branning and Carol Ware. Our District 2 candidates are Ben Barrientos and Mel Chung. However, unfortunately, Ben Barrientos is out of town this evening and will not be participating in the forum. We do have all candidates participate together regardless of district, while only voters in Districts 1 and 2 will be able to cast a ballot for their preferred candidate. Council members represent the entire city, so we find it important that all residents get to know the candidates and hear about their views, values, and vision for the future. I am Cierra. I'm editor of LivermoreVine.com and one of tonight's moderators. My co-moderator tonight is Gina Channell Wilcox, who is the publisher of LivermoreVine.com, as well as our sister publications, Pleasanton Weekly and DanvilleSanRamon.com. Our timekeepers this evening are Christy and Martha. And our staff reporter, Nicole Gonzalez, who's floating around here somewhere, is covering the forum tonight. Thank you again to our co-sponsor, the Livermore Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Jody Amos Productions for providing the AV and managing the wonderful live stream and recording we have. Lastly, thank you to our candidates for joining us this evening. We will start with 2-minute opening statements from each candidate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to questions. For the candidates, for everyone's knowledge, we increased the time allotted for answers based on our experience at our Pleasanton Forum on Monday, where candidates just needed a little bit more time. So we are giving that to y'all. Our timekeepers will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining. A 1-minute rebuttal can be requested after the second candidate responds to a question. Third. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. After the third candidate responds. The other candidate has the option to rebut the rebuttal with the same 1-minute time limit. We have some prepared questions and some questions that were emailed to us, and we also have been collecting question cards from our audience this evening. Audience members, if you have questions that you haven't yet written on a card, please do, and if you look to the back, the basket here, Sherry is holding, you'll drop it in there, and then she'll bring the questions up here to us. Okay, so we are consolidating the questions that we get that are around the same questions, or excuse me, the same subjects, and we will get to as many questions as time allows for, but understand that we may not be able to ask everyone. At the end, each candidate will have 3 minutes for closing statements. And out of respect for our candidates and others, audience members, please be as quiet as possible and silence your cell phones. All right, we will start with opening statements. And since we are getting to know you all, we would appreciate some insight on your background and experiences that have prepared you for being a city council member. Going in alphabetical order, candidate Branning, who's right here in front of me, will give his opening statement first, and then we will continue the questions in the same manner, alternating who speaks. All right, candidate Branning.
Hello, friends. Thank you very much for all being here tonight with me. So my name is Evan Branning, and I'm running for City Council in District 1. So the journey that brought me here today is one where I was originally born, or when I was born into poverty. My parents were on Medi-Cal. My father used to fish so that we could have protein with dinner. However, my parents knew that the state that they were in was temporary. With hard work and dedication, they were aware that they would be able to find a middle-class life for me and my sisters. My parents did quite well for themselves. But later in life, I became a high school teacher. As a high school teacher, my students don't feel the same. My students feel like there are no opportunities to stay in California, that there is no path to success currently. And what we've seen time and time again, working with everyone, is that opportunities, when given, keep people in our cities giving back. When we provide affordable housing, when we provide high-paying, quality jobs, our children and the next generation are able to give back and make our city better. Livermore has been a very welcoming city to me. When I moved here, I fell in love immediately. I wanted to give back as soon as I could. I joined the LARPD Foundation, the Human Services Commission, the Public Health Commission, and the Planning Commission. Even our former mayor, when I got married, was the one who officiated my wedding. This has been an absolutely blessed and welcoming city, and so I am running to give back with all I can to continue to make Livermore even better. Thank you.
Candidate Chung?
Yes, hi, good evening. I'd like to thank the organizers that has brought together all the candidates here for us to be able to present ourselves in our platforms. Also, to Gina and Cierra for moderating tonight. My name is Mel Chong, and I'm running for City Council representing District 2. I am a small business owner. I have a travel business. I raised my family here with my husband. We raised our 2 kids here. I am running because I want to see Livermore continue to be the thriving, welcoming, and dynamic city that I've come to know. Currently, I serve at the Livermore's General Plan Advisory Committee, or GPAC for short. At GPAC, as one of the committee members, we help plan for the city's future going 20 years and beyond. We tackle issues like transportation, housing, public safety, public health, the arts, and so many more. I think that experience with GPAC helps me in understanding and having a better and a deeper understanding of how the city actually works from inside. And so that is a great experience for me in preparing myself to be a good candidate, and if elected, to be ready and running from the ground. So thank you so much.
Candidate War?
Hi. Thank you for the invitation to the event. My name is Carol Ware, and I've been a Livermore resident for 30 years. I raised my daughter here. She went to Maryland, Junction, Granada, and Las Positas. I'm active in the community and a volunteer. I've been a teacher. I'm an early childhood preschool teacher in the community for 38 years. And I'm also a mentor teacher with this California Mentor Teacher Association. I've never run for public office, but I've always been interested and involved in local issues. Coming here for BART meetings, parking, community arts events, downtown planning, homelessness, and so on. However, the current downtown plan has gotten me more engaged in questioning the combativeness and the lack of transparency of the City Council. And as I've been walking around my neighborhood, I hear this from almost every household that I've spoken to. I've envisioned a downtown park for years. Back in the early 90s, one of my friends called me up and said, hey, come to a City Council meeting. Let's get a playground park downtown so that we have a spot for families. She wanted a place where people could meet and a base for exploring downtown. Well, that didn't happen, but the idea stayed with me. And when the Lucky site became available, you know, I have always been on the park or open space side. And I think, or I'm hopeful that there's still an opportunity for this to happen. I think of Livermore as a single community, But the change to district elections made me think more about my district and its specific attributes and challenges. District 1 includes the Outlet Mall, the airport, the college, Vineyard 2.0, the water treatment plant, and the future Isabel neighborhood, and all of downtown. And there's a wide diversity of residential communities. I'm a firm believer that if you want to see change, you need to step up and try to make a difference. I'm interested in your concerns and making sure that they are considered. Thank you.
And thank you. We are going to start out with our questions. Just a reminder, we have 2 minutes, and you can request a rebuttal after the last person speaks. We're going to start with candidate Chong. Do you support the council-approved location at the southeast corner of Railroad Avenue and L Street for the Eden Housing Project? Why or why not?
I do support, and that's my short answer, I do support. And the reason for supporting that is because the facts are that location has been designated because that location has been purchased with affordable money, affordable housing money. And as I understand it, only affordable housing units can be developed on there. So I'm working from that reasoning. We have come this far for this development to be in its current context. Moving it is going to take us back so many years. And from here on, because of the lawsuits that have been struck down in favor of the city building on this project, my hope is we can move forward from this conversation so that our future generations can look back in this time in the city of Livermore and say that the city was determined to build it without any hesitation and despite opposition to it. And that is what I would like to have the city of Livermore have that legacy for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ware?
Thank you. Regarding Eden housing, well, first off, I am completely in favor of affordable and low-income housing. Even in my backyard, I want it everywhere. I just think that that is the wrong spot to put more housing. In all of the public forums that I've gone to, people wanted parking. They wanted to they wanted the character of downtown, and they wanted a sense of community. I think that one of the problems is the lack of transparency and how all of these changes with the parking and the hotel and where things are going just got me more and more interested in what was going on. One space per apartment doesn't quite fit the feel of how busy it is downtown now. And I think that there might be some solutions. I'm just willing to look at them. No matter what happens, parking, open space, and let's keep the downtown lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Branning?
Thank you. So let me start by just making one thing absolutely clear. Eden Housing will be built on that land. It does not matter who you vote for. It does not matter the next council, what they would like. It is already done. The land has been sold. The judges have denied the temporary restraining order. The lawsuits are frivolous, and it will be built. The question now is, do we want Livermore to partner with Eden Housing, who has been a good partner for us? They've worked with the city, and they worked well with us. Do we want to partner with Eden, or do we want the state to decide what this will look like? We have a park, we have parking, we have a beautiful building that will be going in. The Eden project is going to add to our downtown. It's going to bring families that work downtown to be able to live where they work. The target is going to end up providing our service workers, the people who have some of the hardest jobs on earth, a place in our core, in the heart of our downtown. I agree with everyone that this is the most valuable piece of property in our city. And I can think of nothing better to do with the most valuable piece of property than to honor the hardest working members of our society. We are doing this out of compassion. We are doing this to make our city stronger. We're doing to make it a better place for everyone. I hope that we can all come together, now that this has been resolved, we can all come together and welcome our neighbors with open arms. Welcome them and embrace them, because they are some of the most valuable members of our society.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We're going to move on to our next question. We're going to drill down a little bit deeper on the answers to your last question. So we're going to start with candidate Ware. You said that you would like to see the Eden Housing Project moved. Now that the land has been sold to Eden Housing Incorporated, how would you go about getting the land back? Would you be willing to use eminent domain to take it back forcibly? And if you were to get the land back, please tell us specifically where you would recommend moving it to.
I don't really believe in eminent domaining anything back. So that being said, if the Eden Housing is going in there, the Eden Housing is going in there. And I think that it can be done in a way that helps everybody. There are other spaces in Livermore for affordable housing, and in fact, I think since we're in districts, I think the city need to look at spaces in all 4 districts for affordable housing and just keep growing outward.
Thank you. Candidate Branning, you said that, essentially you said that you do support the current location for the Eden Housing Project. Beyond finishing the core downtown site, what is the next top priority for improving the downtown and why? And what initial steps would need to be taken?
Thank you. This is actually something I'm very excited about. We have an amazing downtown. So as we work and start seeing the project fleshed out, we have a lot of opportunities to continue to improve. One of the coolest things about Livermore, in my opinion, is that we have so many small businesses. We've invested in innovation grants, we've invested in our chamber, we've made sure that we have the opportunities for these small businesses to thrive and to really be able to make our downtown the coolest downtown in the Tri-Valley. When we start looking forward to the future, we want to make sure that our downtown is accessible to everyone. So what can we do to make sure that people have access by public transportation, walking, biking, driving, parking, however they choose to get downtown? We want to make sure that all options are available to people. I believe we currently, with our plan, have looked forward to that and are really actually implementing better ways to get downtown. Beyond that, once we do have the second garage finished, the city can start investing and really looking at how can we make Railroad and 2nd Street and 3rd Street really thrive. I don't think it is a huge investment. I think we're looking at lighting, trees, paint, simple things like that that really will tie the entire downtown together. Furthermore, we are expanding, and soon we can have a downtown that goes theater to theater. We can be able to walk, drive, bike, to restaurants, to shops, to all of the different amenities that our downtown provides, and I don't think it's a large investment on the city's part. I think that's something that this next city council can really look forward to and make happen.
Thank you. Candidate Chung, same question to you. Beyond finishing the core downtown site, what is the next top priority for improving the downtown and why, and what initial steps would need to be taken?
Thank you. I think downtown, the idea of downtown is for people to gather. It's the central, it's the heart of the city. And we're doing that already very concretely. For me, the next steps would be connecting the different parts of Livermore to it. I don't think there's any other element that I would like to see in downtown, because all the elements, as far as I know, in the downtown plan are already on there. And it's a matter of constructing them, doing them. And so I would like to see, for instance, access to downtown from the Springtown area be improved. Interconnectivity, I think, is the most important one, that we can connect downtown to the different parts of Livermore. Everybody should be enjoying downtown with the idea that we can access it freely with multiple forms of transportation, with safe bike lanes, pedestrian lanes, other transport. Some of the community members are talking about difficulty in the traffic, parking issues. And that's why we need to get away from that consciousness, from that mentality, and start looking into how we can improve connectivity in terms of improving transportation and access. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're going to stay pretty much on that topic. And candidate Branning is going to start. Housing is among the top concerns for voters headed into this city council election, especially in light of the new increased RHNA numbers. Do you agree with the approach the city is taking to meet these state-mandated numbers? Specifically, which points of the plan do you agree with, and which points do you disagree with, and why?
Thank you. As I started off saying, housing is a major issue for me, as well as for many of the residents of Livermore. And I think most importantly, it's a major issue for the next generation. Historic Livermore families are losing their kids to other cities. We're losing famous names, people who helped build this city, to other parts of the country. Livermore is doing the right thing. The city council, the current city council, has been planning to make sure that there are options for affordable housing in Livermore. They've had the foresight, and I've had the pleasure on the Planning Commission to work on our inclusionary housing policy. And we have one of the best inclusionary policies in the state. It requires developers to put in affordable housing at all income levels, not just moderate housing, but at every level. It makes sure that we have integrated housing that brings in all of our neighbors together and helps us lift them up. Furthermore, Livermore planned ahead. We actually have a plan to meet our RHNA numbers. We're not panicking like many other cities are and trying to find spots where we can put things. We're actually building an entire new neighborhood. We're building the Isabel neighborhood, and it's gonna be a cool spot. We're gonna have almost a mini downtown going there. It's gonna be another place for the residents who live north of the freeway to be able to shop, go to restaurants, to be able to enjoy outdoor spaces. Because of the leadership that we've had in the past, we're looking to a future where meeting our RHNA numbers and meeting our housing goals is not only going to be achievable, but it's going to be beautiful and inclusive, and it's going to bring everyone along with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Chong?
Thank you. So RHNA numbers are state, they originate from state. And so these are numbers that are given to us and that we are going to meet. And I believe the city is meeting its RHNA numbers in terms of allocating spaces for housing. My GPAC experience, again, it's giving me that deep understanding and that planning, actual planning, to address that particular issue. And so we have 4 focus areas And in each of those focus areas, we discuss how these RENA numbers will be addressed. Housing that is across the board income housing, starting from sheltering our unhoused neighbors to affordable housing and all other income level housing is addressed in GPAC. So I'm very confident with the way our city is responding to our RENA requirements. I'm very confident that this next 20 years and beyond is still responding to that. Rest assured that your committee members at GPAC take all these elements and all these issues very seriously, and in cooperation with the with city staff and the project team, all these elements are interconnected. So we're talking about housing, but we also talk about economy, jobs, how to provide housing for everybody, and how to keep the jobs local, how to keep us safe, in public health, and all the other elements that are important to us.
Thank you. And candidate Ware.
Thank you. Livermore is doing a great job on looking at future sites for houses. You know, we are very fortunate for the planning that's gone on and going on. The Isabel plan is going to be really lovely. It is very expensive to live here, and we do need to look at different levels of housing for everybody. Right now, you know, there's rich houses and affordable houses, but we don't have as many starter houses. We don't have houses for people moving up and down. You know, there's no ladder or no steps for anybody. So I think, you know, we're looking at that, or we have to take that into mind. We also are not talking about rentals. We have a lot of renters in Livermore, and we need to encourage the rents not going up so high for the tenants, and also landlords need to have a balance. We also need to look at jobs and have a more outreach to get good employers to come in, and so that everything works out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, going into our next question, Candidate Chung, it will be for you first. What are your thoughts on the current efforts to revitalize the wine region, such as the South Livermore Sewer Line Extension Project, Measure P, and the proposed amendments to the county's Measure D, which would expand wine country uses to include hot air balloon operations and boutique cannabis dispensaries, among other conditional uses? What other strategies would you consider to help strengthen Livermore's wine industry?
We owe a lot to the wine industry. It has been here long before I've been here. And I can, I think, fairly say that it's been here long before anybody else in this room has been here. So we respect that. And we need the industry as much as the industry needs us. As a community, we need to support the growth of the wine industry. As I understand, if we don't take care of it, the wine industry will die on its own. And we should not let that happen at all. Measure D is, I believe, is the one that allows, it's a county measure. It allows infrastructure on an open space that is ag related, and it can be wine related, adding to our vineyards, or storage that are just not housing related, no housing development on them. And so it's important for us to take care of the industry because it brings so much to us, not just within Livermore. It brings people here. It brings tourism. It brings dollars that we can help circulate in our economy. So that's my answer to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ware?
Yes, the wineries are an extremely important part of Livermore. They make having guests come and visitors come to the city, it's so lovely to just take people out to the wineries. I think that it just says so much about our community. The city, I think, can do more with partnerships with the wineries, and the wineries themselves can partner up. Having events brings people in and adds to the spirit and fun of Livermore. As far as Measure D, it is to support, it is for agriculture to be able to build shade structures and sheds, and it's a county bill, so I think that, I'm in support of that also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Whether you drink wine or not, Livermore was built on wine, and it is one of the industries that makes our city amazing. They bring in tourists, they bring in friends, they bring in revenue. And I will say, I believe that the city has done an amazing job of supporting our wineries. I believe that our Downtown Inc., our chamber, the different organizations in the city have all partnered with them extensively and made sure to promote the business as best as they could. However, it has become harder and harder for the wineries to be able to make ends meet. We're seeing smaller wineries close. A lot of them didn't make it through the pandemic. They need our support. So emphatically, I support Measure P and Measure D. We need to support our wine region, and it doesn't matter if you never touch a single glass, because our wine region makes Livermore amazing. If you love our beautiful hills, they're the ones defending it. If you like driving through the countryside, it is the grapevines you see that keep it open space. If you enjoy the amenities of our city, we get a lot of revenue from the tourism and the support businesses that the wineries have. The quality of life of Livermore is directly tied to the wineries. I strongly support them, and I believe that when we go to the ballot, we all need to strongly support them together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple district-specific questions now. So we're going to start with candidate Chong, who is representing or is running in District 2. And the question is, the city recently announced some aesthetic, it was easy for me to say, aesthetic enhancements being made to the Springtown Branch Library. What other improvements to city-owned or other properties should be made in District 2, and what amenities and services should be implemented?
I'm glad you asked. So when I talk to people in District 2, especially in the Springtown Northeast part of Livermore, the conversation around the Springtown open space always comes up. If you don't know Springtown, it's there. We're there. So the Springtown open space that I'm referring to used to be this 9-hole golf course that's no longer a golf course. And the beauty of it is people are enjoying it. Residents over there enjoy to walk it. There's a built-in trail. It used to be a golf course. But it's all brown too. So back in 2017, prior to that, there was a series of workshops to see what we can improve with that open space. If you look at the document, it's called the Springtown Open Space. It's a master concept plan. It's a beautiful plan. All elements that you would want on an open space will be there. One being an educational feature, because we do have the wetlands over there. Now it's dry, of course, but dry and water, it's a cycle, but it's always going to be a wetlands. Then we have all these community gardens that can be put on there. Community gardens meaning community can actually take part, participate in enhancing that. And so that is the part of the conversation. The one silver lining, or one of the silver linings that we have for district elections, is that we can bring back issues that are important in the district that may not be known to the rest of the council or to the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. So for our District 1 candidates, we're going to start with candidate Ware. Let's see, the downtown revitalization is a major project in District 1 that will require a lot of major construction over the course of several years. How will you work with businesses and residents in the area to mitigate the impacts of the construction on their daily lives?
Thank you. That is definitely something to take into concern. It's been going on currently. Currently, the downtown plan has, they send out emails on pretty much a daily basis with what streets they're going to be working on and how it's going to impact the neighborhoods. I think that that's definitely will be continued going forward with the rest of the building. It will say, you know, we're putting pipelines in, PG&E is going to have this intersection closed. So basically, transparency, talking to people, and figuring out what their needs are. I think parking when they're building is going to be an issue because we're going to lose a lot of that space. Hopefully the garage will be completed by then, and, you know, we'll see.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Branning?
Thank you. I think it's important whenever we're doing any construction projects that we do plan for the negative impacts of them. And I do think that the city has done a great job. As many people may be well aware of, that when the downtown plan was originally envisioned, the council at the time said they wanted to make sure that there was no loss of parking at any point in the project. So there would always be the same or more parking at any given stage. That again takes foresight, thinking ahead, planning ahead. I think one of the things that we really need to be aware of as we're going into projects like this and going into the downtown revitalization is the importance of continuity. As we move forward, having a council that can think 10, 20 years out is what's made Livermore really amazing. And when you can plan for 10 and 20 years in the future, staff can put together project plans that account for the different effects. When we look at major change, having a foundation based on actually thinking through all of the ramifications of it and being able to look back to past councils and forward to future councils and knowing all of them will be working in harmony to make sure that Livermore is amazing as possible really gives us the opportunities to make sure that these projects do go forward with minimum mitigations. I will add that as we are going forward, for our district, particularly in District 1, there are a lot of areas that could use a little bit of love, and we will see these projects bringing in money and bringing in construction that, while it may be uncomfortable in the moment, will give us safer streets, more beautiful streets, that allow us to beautify our neighborhoods and really make it so all of Livermore benefits from it. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving on into our next question. Am I? Hello?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're fine.
We are going to start with candidate Ware this time. The Tri-Valley, including Livermore, is not immune to homelessness. Do you agree with the framework and goals that the Alameda County cities and the Board of Supervisors have aligned on for addressing homelessness? If so, what aspects are most appealing to you and why? And if not, what would you want to change and how would you go about doing so?
Homelessness is a big issue in Livermore. It's a big issue in California. It's a big issue everywhere. I think, we all know we need to look at homeless people and homeless issues on different levels. There's people without jobs. There's people living in their cars. There's the truly homeless. There's dependent, substance abuse issues. I think Livermore is working in the right direction, and we definitely need to do more. We're looking at tiny houses, we're looking at sleeping in cars, and we also have the Vineyard 2.0 Open Heart Kitchen Hub that's coming up in District 1. I think we need to have an individual approach. We need to work with all different types of social systems to help everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. So let me begin by just saying that our unsheltered neighbors deserve our love and our compassion. Every human being deserves a place to live, deserves a warm meal. They deserve a place in Livermore. They are our neighbors. The county has actually come up with a really good plan. I'm firmly in support of it. For those of you who aren't aware, the basics are that every city has signed on in Alameda County to work together. This is something that we haven't seen, as far as I know, ever. And we've needed a regional solution forever. Cities can't solve the problem of unsheltered people not being able to find a home on their own. The plan works with the idea of we're going to increase temporary housing in the short term. And we found from programs like Project Roomkey that temporary housing works for many people. While homelessness went up throughout the county, it went down in Livermore. The city is doing great things along those lines, but having these partners throughout the county will really see an opportunity for us to reduce homelessness dramatically. We will see going forward, after the temporary shelters are put into place, an opportunity for people to transition into more permanent shelter. And from there, we can convert some of those temporary shelters into permanent housing. This gives us the opportunity to provide support services for the people who need a little bit of extra help, and allows us for the opportunity to find places for people to live. It's very expensive to find housing now, and having this regional partnership is the only opportunity I see to really make a huge impact.
Thank you.
Our unsheltered neighbors, though they may be in Livermore, they are in the community of not just the city, but the county. And frankly, it's, the state. We have got to be more responsible. And this is saying that the County of Alameda is very responsive to those issues, and it translates to the city. The city of Livermore has liaisons, has programs that are in place in order to respond to this homelessness. I was just talking with Kim Curtis, the executive director of Goodness Village, a few days ago, and she's reminding us that this is not just a matter of providing houses, but also us as a community have our own roles. Goodness Village, for instance, needs volunteers. Simple tasks as driving the residents there to and from doctor's appointments. So these are the things that we can add on to the wraparound services that are already provided by the county, by our city. So let's, all of us, take responsibility for it. And I'm sure that if we do, then we can lessen at least the impact of that on our unhoused neighbors. And it can make a difference, actually. So let's do our part.
Thank you. Moving on, and we're going to start with candidate Branning. This is only the second district-based election in Livermore and the first for districts 1 and 2. How do you plan to address the concerns and priorities of the entire city and not only the district you represent? And what will you do when those needs seem to conflict?
Thank you. As you all know, and as was stated at the beginning, if I'm elected to City Council, I will be a City Council member for all of you. However, districts have provided us with an amazing opportunity, and I think it actually will strengthen our city once we get used to it. What districts allow us to do is, instead of me talking to everyone in the city all the time, it allows me to have direct contact with a smaller group. There are roughly a little over 20,000 people in my district. All of them can call me. All of them can email me. That is a manageable number of people to have direct interactions with. When I'm walking neighborhoods, when I'm talking to people, when I'm out in the community, my district is able to say, these are the issues that matter to us. And those individual personal connections, those personal contacts, will allow me as a city council member to be sure to bring them up. But once I'm on council, I'm one of 5 votes. It's important that when we talk about the needs of my district, that we talk about how it benefits the entire city. When we talk about safer streets, when we talk about beautification in District 1, that will end up bringing the entire city up. It will make the whole city nicer. It will make the residents look better for everyone when you're driving through the city. When we talk about the individual needs of a district, as a district representative, it allows me to have that voice and all of the residents in my district to have that voice. As a city council member, it's my job to make sure that anytime I make a decision, it doesn't only benefit my district, but it benefits everyone in the city.
Thank you.
Like I said before, the district elections, one of the silver linings is that it's bringing back attention to issues that may have been left out of conversations. And if we bring attention to that, then we provide that connectivity with the part of Livermore that maybe historically has not been able to connect with in a full feature. We have been talking about downtown, Eden housing, and that has preoccupied most of our conversations lately. Downtown and Eden housing is not Livermore. Springtown is not Livermore, but it has been left out of conversations many times. And so that is what I'm bringing to the table, to the district. But once you are one of 5, then you represent the whole of Livermore. And then you got to be sure that you know everything about Livermore from there on. So let's talk about other things other than downtown, other than Eden Housing. Let's move forward. Let's bring attention back to where all the other attention is needed.
Thank you. And candidate Ware?
Livermore changing into a district city council election is one of the reasons, or one of the motivations for me to step up. It gives, looking at things as individual districts and how we can build up together to unify the city of Livermore. Each district has its own diversity and its own needs, and it's really interesting to see how they do fit together. It gives us a chance to walk around and meet people and hear their needs. I think it makes the community's voices heard in a different level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are going to, we're closing in on 8 o'clock, so we're going to move on to closing statements. Each candidate will now have up to 3 minutes to provide their closing statements. And we are starting, yes.
Backwards alphabetically.
Yes,
so
so we'll start with candidate Ware.
All right, thank you very much for the invitation and the great questions. I have given some quick responses tonight, and personally, I'm a very reflective speaker and thinker, and so I will be continuing to think about the questions, and I know that each of the answers deserves more discernment and consideration. There's a lot of technical pieces, and I'm happy to chat with anybody about the city and to listen what concerns you and new thoughts to be considered. I'm always delighted as I talk to people and to learn how amazing they are. And I go out and I talk to people and they're so smart, and people have such good opportunities to add things to our city government. I don't see city council as a counselor, but more as a bridge between the residents and the city. So based on what we hear, we make decisions and we guide the city staff to run your city. The emphasis that I keep hearing is that you want better transparency from your city, and that means better communication and better access to information through improved web and mobile tools. And that information should not be biased. It should be clear and honest and about the pros and the cons of the city's actions. I recognize that people have come from all have goodwill and all have concern for our city. And I know that we will disagree, but it's best to move forward, and I hope that we can do this with passion and civility. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Chong.
Thank you again for the organizers in bringing all the candidates together. I care deeply about Livermore, and that's why I'm running. As I know, Carol and Evan and Ben are all care about Livermore, and that's why we're all running. Well, Livermore has shaped me a lot, you know, obviously because of the connections with people and the different experiences that I have come to be up to this point in my life. So let me present to you 3 focus areas that I'm passionate about. One is connectivity. Being a connected community brings us, much more dynamic. It brings dynamic to every one of us. And connected community relates to multiple forms of transportation. That's the physical way. The second point I'd like to make is sustainable solutions. Just recently, we were bogged with not high triple digits, but high 110s, 112, 116 degrees for several days. And that has been recorded as the hottest that we've been in Livermore. So we talk about sustainable solutions, and what comes to mind are renewable energy, making us very responsible and very aware of what we can do and what we need to do. But sustainability also has to do with a healthy city in terms of finances. An economically viable city is very important because we can address issues that are not just short-term and urgent, but that are long-term and forward-looking. And I can say that as a GPAC member, that there are things that we can look forward to, and those are being planned right now. My third area is housing for all. We talk about affordable housing and housing and our unsheltered neighbors. Those are very critical social responsibilities that we, as a community, should be concerned about. Housing for all also involves housing across the entire income level. So these are the things that I am presenting myself as a candidate. And so I hope this conversation tonight has, that you've learned more about myself. And so thank you so much for this conversation. I hope that I get the support.
Thank you. And candidate Branning.
Thank you. So thank you all for sticking with us for so long. Particularly, I want to thank the Vine and the Chamber for putting on this event. Let me start by saying Livermore is amazing. And I mean that in the way that Livermore is special. I've lived other places. I've seen many cities. It reminds me in a lot of ways of my hometown. And Livermore is amazing because it has character. When you go to other cities, people live in those cities, but they don't know what the city is. You ask someone what Livermore is, they know what Livermore is. We have something really amazing here. And we have something amazing because of the people who have come before, because of the generations who really built such a wonderful city. So I want to thank also all of you who've put in the work and put in the service and put in the time to make Livermore the awesome place that it is. My life has been about service. I worked in kitchens as my first career. I'm a teacher now. I'm running for office to serve all of you. I want to do the best that I can, and there will be mistakes along the way. I'm human. I'm not perfect. But what I will do is I will be there to listen to you, to talk with you, to explain why I made the choices I made, and to hear from you why I should maybe change my mind. We can have those conversations. And so I'm hoping that all of you will come, speak to me, visit my website, email me, give me a call. All of my information is out there public. I'm willing to meet with anyone anytime. I'm willing to talk with anyone who would like to. I'll be at the farmer's market. I'll be canvassing doors. I will do everything I can to meet you where you're at. We're even having a barbecue in Maynesson Park this Sunday, and I want to invite all of you who are watching, whether you're in District 1 or not, everyone is welcome to come out. From 1 to 5 this Sunday, enjoy some pupusas, have a great afternoon. I hope to hear from you, and I hope to be able to speak with you. And when elected, I hope to be able to serve you as best as possible. Thank you.
And that was a perfect way to end because we, again, had several questions that we didn't get to because of time, but we know it's getting late. So we're going to move on. We thank the candidates first for coming out and making yourselves available. And our partner, our co-sponsor, the Livermore Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Jody Amos Production for doing the live stream and the recording. There will be a recording of the forum available soon on the Chamber's YouTube channel and on livermorevine.com's YouTube channel. And I mentioned the school district forum earlier on the 26th, and it was pointed out to me that there might be a conflict. Rosh Hashanah has not ended by that time, so stay tuned. We'll get back to you on that. And with that, I wish you all a very good evening. Thank you very much.
And a quick thank you to Gina and Cierra. Thank you for moderating tonight's forum. And to our candidates, all of our candidates, thank you for participating and for giving all of us an opportunity to preview your perspectives, qualifications, leadership skills, and objectives as a potential future city elected leader. Thank you so much. Thank you to our audience, to our viewers, with a reminder to vote on or before November 8th. And that's it. Thank you all. Thanks for coming, and have a great night. Thank you.